In today's era, animation is the key to an anime success, as seen with hits like Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen, where stunning visuals and sound elevate them. While their stories are solid, the impressive execution of key scenes has captured attention. So today, let's take a look at the top 10 underappreciated, visually stunning anime. Let me know in the comments how many of these hidden gems you've watched or will watch. We're kicking things off with a video game adaptation, Tales of Zestiria the Cross. I remember back when this was aired in 2016, there was quite some hype for it, even more so than the usual video game adaptation around about this time. It ended up not having too much cultural footprint thanks to it sharing a season with Mob Psycho and having to contend with the second half of Re:Zero. Still, when it peaked in popularity, there was some chatter regarding this video game anime from a long-standing franchise. TZX is a show overall that Ufotable handled extremely well. They've been really awesome with their presentation as far as Unlimited Blade Works and another series we'll be talking about down the line, and they continue to show their pedigree with projects like this. While Tales of Zestiria has merely a serviceable story and, in my opinion, requires someone to be invested in the video games in order to fully enjoy it, staying for the pretty visuals, the great soundtrack and the action doesn't sound so bad at all, right? At the end of the day, it's a show that entertains far more than you'd expect, especially for a series in the mid-2010s. The number 9 entry may be quite controversial, but I'm going with K. Late 2012 was a different time. It was a time when anime was just starting to break into the mainstream, and the big headliners like Attack on Titan, One Punch Man or Jujutsu Kaisen weren't there to break the proverbial glass ceiling. There was a lot more niche work that looked like one and done stuff. At least that's how I perceived it when you look back. One such show was K, an original anime that got quite a bit of hype, and I do think that it certainly got that hype from looking unique. Now, I know what you're going to say when you look at the footage. The color filter, a Gohan signature, is definitely what I'd call hit or miss, and your mileage will vary on how well you can tolerate it. However, don't let that distract you from what I consider to be gorgeous art and animation for its era. The background work and how the action sequences got presented in this anime are just top notch, and they help complement an action/mystery story that doesn't fall short in making fans want more. Good news is that K project found some success in its own right. We ended up getting a lot more sequels than everyone initially expected. It wasn't a one and done in the end. At number 8, here's Rage of Bahamut Genesis. Rage of Bahamut was the Cygames IP in the days of old. Before Uma Musume, before Grand Blue Fantasy, and before Princess Connect. The dark fantasy aesthetic, harkening to the classic JRPGs of old, is really where it was for them. By all accounts, this supported glorified commercial to their game that they're trying to promote further should have been a passable yet forgettable anime, but it did way more than was expected, being another of the few video game adaptations that didn't suck. It's an anime that wound people with its crisp visuals and an aesthetic that certainly fit the times. Remember, this was in 2014, just a year removed from when Attack on Titan took the world by storm and people craved the bleaker, sepia-toned fantasy worlds that did away with idealism. Rage of Bahamut would later get a sequel, also done by Mappa. That one was also pretty solid, and you should give both Rage of Bahamut shows a try. Seventh on the list is Shangri-La Frontier. This could possibly be a controversial opinion, because Shangri-La Frontier being on this list of underappreciated anime would definitely feel wrong to some. It's certainly not an anime that's been buried into obscurity or anything like that, but part of me ponders about what could have been for this show. There's a lot to love about this anime, and while it's garnered quite a bit of popularity with how well produced it is, it deserves a bit more. That's just what I think, due to it being one of the best gaming anime out there, and in terms of visuals and animation, I'd say it's one of C2C's best works. With a catalogue boasting hits like Elena and Tsukimichi shows there are no slouches in the visuals department, that is saying something. Still, this is no time to stay too long on this topic and lament on what ifs. We have a new season coming this October, and it's time to hop back into the ride with Sunraku and the gang.
長い長い墓守の使いすらもバッシュに代わって俺がはっ倒してやるわ天水クレスントボーンバルグッドラック
Gekkai Sensen, otherwise known as Blood Blockade Battlefront, was one of those defining shows with spice back in the mid-2010s. Urban fantasies featuring supernatural creatures and such are a dime a dozen. There's something special with how Gekkai Sensen goes about it. For one, there's a distinctive western flair to it, but that's to be expected when the one who brought us the source material is also the author of the 90s hit Trigun. For me, the strongest parts of Gekkai Sensen all involved its characters and the banter. There's just so much life and energy in it, and it's something that a lot of fans can truly appreciate. It's also visually stunning when it comes to the key sequences, and Bones did an excellent job with the art and animation. The slice of life approach where the plot seems to meander may not be to everyone's liking given the action genre of the show, but the anime is worth a shot if you enjoy these western aesthetic stories like the aforementioned Trigun or Bakano. And with that, we've reached the halfway point. Have you found something new to watch yet? If so, go hit that like button to show your appreciation. If not, stick around and maybe find something for you to watch. Let's proceed with number 5, King's Avatar. Chinese anime typically don't get enough shine, for obvious reasons. The marketing just isn't there, there are numerically not too many of them to make it internationally, and they're easy to pass off as more amateur than their more mainstream counterparts from Japan. One great show that seemed to have broken that barrier of obscurity is King's Avatar, largely thanks to the competitive gaming craze still going strong and people on the internet comparing it to a popular title like Sword Art Online. In its own right, however, King's Avatar has a lot going for it, as it's one of my first exposure to an anime that tackles the esports side of things. Far too often, gaming anime tend to either be about being trapped inside a game or just hanging out and chilling with friends over MMOs and the like. It's not every day we get exposed to the glamorous and less than glamorous sides of professional gaming, both the thrills of competition and honing your skills, as well as the ugly side of internal politics within esports organizations. King's Avatar is worth a shot even if you're not the type who's into gaming. You can enjoy it for the character dynamics and be invested with our main character's journey to rise to the top once more. We have a newcomer on the block at number 4, Wistoria Wand and Sword. The recently concluded Wistoria Wand and Sword deserves a shout out here. On paper, Wistoria is a story we've all seen and loved already. Heck, Mashal came out not too long ago, but what I'd like to reference is Black Clover, which happens to share a director with Wistoria. While Black Clover has had a rocky start and a polarized reception, one thing we can't deny is that the show does fight scenes spectacularly. It's riddled with a lot of awesome and memorable moments, thanks in large part to the way those events got translated into anime format. You'll see more of that excellence in Wistoria, where pretty much every episode has an incredible action sequence. This recently concluded season seems to be the season of rom-coms, but if you're looking for an action series to watch that's still very fresh in the community's minds, Wistoria is my pick for you. Definitely go for it if you're a sucker for eye-catching fight scenes. I do think it's a thing to write home about, even if the plot and characters all veer towards familiar territory for seasoned anime fans. Another Chinese anime on this list, Blades of the Guardians, is one that I bet most anime fans don't know about. Unlike the previously discussed King's Avatar, this one unfortunately doesn't have much of a marketing push behind it, whether from execs or online personalities. It's not hard to see why either. Historical series have a specific niche, and even the more successful ones have fan bases that pale in comparison to the actual blockbusters. Needless to say, the world of Chinese anime has a lot of hidden gems, and series tucked away that I've seen since the onset of the decade. Blades of the Guardians is one such anime, being an action-filled production that blends fantasy and history. It's got some great production value that far exceeds what one would expect out of a niche work that no one really knows about, and if you're up for watching some Chinese anime that's not set in the modern era, then I would definitely recommend this one for you. Second place is another newcomer, Undead Unluck. First impressions are very important in anime, and Undead Unluck sure did a hell of a great job making an impression. Starting off with a very interesting premise and peppering it with some astounding action scenes seemed to have worked out pretty well for it. The cool thing with Undead Unluck is that, unlike some shows that peak in the first episode or two, the ride doesn't end there. Throughout the anime's run of engaging arcs after another, it never quite lost its edge in the animation department, and it sure delivered on its promise of crazy, unadulterated fun. The over-the-top fight scenes really work for what the anime is trying to achieve, fitting in the niche of late 2023's crass, morbid yet equally charming shonen series. Just the kind of sit back and watch explosions while eating popcorn type of entertainment that won't hurt to have in a world where a lot of shonen anime feel like they take themselves too seriously. It's the distribution model that clipped the show in its wings from becoming more popular. If it had better distribution among streaming services, it would have gotten more recognition than it actually did. 不運は奴の本体だけに作用していたはず。セカンド。Rounding out the list is Garden of Sinners. For anime fans in the 2010s, Garden of Sinners was one of those renowned titles that a lot of them had undoubtedly heard about but probably never watched. Over the years, this series of movies slowly got buried in the sands of time in the ever-changing world of trends in the anime community. To be fair, that's to be expected, given how the movies had a unique way of going about one of the lesser-known works from Mr. Type Moon himself. Complicated storytelling, movies that are out of order in terms of timeline, some deeper and darker themes than you'd be used to if you get into the Verse through the more action-orientated Fate series. Yeah, it all checks out. Visually, it's just a spectacle, and it's an early look at what's to come for Ufotable. The world has yet to witness Unlimited Blade Works or Demon Slayer, but you can already see the team excel at what they're famous for nowadays. From the background art to the action sequences to how effects get applied to create a somber atmosphere, Garden of Sinners has it all. The series of movies may not be for everyone, but if there's one reason I'd recommend Garden of Sinners, it's for its art. Well, how about it? Did you enjoy watching this video? Found anything to add to your watch list? If this list wasn't enough, I have something more for you in store. Check out this video on the top 10 Chinese action anime. That's all for today from my side. Do make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell if you want to stay updated on my future videos. See you soon.